I got to solve some of this. So I think I'm going to go take a long prayer walk because we have a lot of questions. I'm going to pray for 2 hours around a really pretty lake. I'm going to pray over there and I'm going to get some answers. I start praying and I start with a preamble. I'm going to get to the big stuff, but I think I should probably pray for my family, so I'll pray for my wife and my kids, and I'll pray for some friends, and I'll just kind of get through a prayer list, and I'll see what happens. So I do that, and I hit this one friend of mine that I've been praying for, at that point maybe for 15 years, almost daily, who's kind of an unhappy person, who's had some bad experiences with faith, has got some challenges in life, and I'm praying, well, God, if you have anything to give to anybody, give it to this guy. I mean, help him experience whatever is good from faith. I've been doing that for 15 years. And I pray exactly that for this guy. And I'm about to move on. I feel like God says, is that it? And I said, yes. I mean, was there something else you were suggesting? And I felt like God said, yeah. And I felt like God immediately gave me a picture of a bowl. And I felt like he said, your friend. My friend was a little older than me. And I felt like he said, your friend's not going to live forever. Picture this bowl, a swimming pool, an empty swimming pool. Let's say that's the bowl of prayers for your friend to get the answer to those prayers. And let's say every day you've been diligently praying for your friend with an eyedropper. Eyedropper, eyedropper, eyedropper. 10 seconds, eyedropper, eyedropper. How long is it going to take to fill that bowl? Like I said, about 27 lifetimes. And so your friend's not going to live forever, and so maybe you should do a bit more. And I said, like, what do you have in mind? And I felt like God said, well, just keep praying, keep going, a little more today. And I said, I got all this stuff for the church I got to pray about. It's really challenging. I have things on my mind. I felt like God said, I'm on it. What if I just will handle that? I want you just to pray for your friend. And I thought, pray what? I mean, other than help him out. You know, if it's about experiencing you, great. Help him experience you. Help him find something from you. Great. And I suddenly realized, well, I read a book recently, actually, about how to pray for people just like this guy. Well, I suppose I could pray that stuff. And so I felt like God said, go. And so I started just praying whatever came to mind for my friend, whatever, trying to pray that good things would happen and that he'd encounter whatever from God would be helpful. And I felt like God said, keep going. And I ended up praying the entire time, 2 hours. I'd never prayed that long for anyone ever. And a lot of it was just sort of revisiting themes. And when I was done, I felt as though God said, and it's not over. I'd encourage you actually to fast for your friend. Well, fasting is this idea where you go without something. Often, I mean, seriously, it can be everything but maybe water. That's called a water fast for a period of time, or just something. In this case, I felt like God said, I want a water fast out of you for your friend. I said, how long? I felt like God said, well, there's an old biblical picture of 40 days. 40-day water fast? Are you crazy? I don't know if I can go a half-day water fast. I was thinking you were going to want a water fast between now and 3 p.m. So what are you talking about? I felt like God said, well, give it a shot. And when you would be eating, pray for your friend. So a half hour a day at least, pray for your friend. So I thought, wow. And so I thought, well, God seems to have said I'm going to give it a shot. So I launched into this. I can't stick to it. But what I could stick to over all 40 days is I would eat a single meal like once every 2 or 3 days. That worked. So I lost like 30 pounds. You're saying to yourself, no, that water fast idea might not be the worst thing for you now, but you got to leave that. I do that, and about 3 weeks in, I get a call from my friend who lives across the country. And he's talking, and he's saying, oh, you know, at the church that my wife and I go to, and I said, stop. The church you go to. Because I was pretty sure this guy had not been in a church for many decades and had been angry when it happened then. And he said, oh yeah, we go to church. I said, since when? He said, since Sunday. I said, since Sunday. Why did that happen? He said, I just woke up on Saturday, I thought I'm going to church on Sunday. And I'm going to go to church like every Sunday. And so I got off the phone, I say to Grace, I'm flying to California. I'm seeing this church. And so I flew out like a month later, and I visited this church that my friend went to. And I went with him to their church. And it was perfectly fine. And on the way out, I say to my friend, so tell me more, what happened to you exactly during that time? And he's kind of taciturn, so he said, oh, I don't know. And his wife says, I'll tell you what happened. We actually play sports on weekends. We play tennis, we play golf, or things like that. And I was scheduling our game. And as I was doing it, he says, we're going to go to this church. And we're going to do it, you know, forever. He even said to my friend's wife, and we're not going to go to one of those churches you talk about. We're going to go to one that believes in Jesus. She said, okay. and indeed, they found one that did. And I said, and why? He said, it was just an overwhelming desire. I just wanted to do it. And it's now been probably almost a decade, stuck with it, going great. And the things in their life that made me think this person needs God have really been addressed. And I thought, bowl of prayers, wow, there it is. Now, let me suggest the way the bowl of prayers idea can go horribly wrong, that I will try to forestall with you. For the bowl of prayers idea to work and to be helpful, it has to be paired up with the chatting with God idea. Because here's where things can go bad. Suddenly you think, any problem in your life or any problem that a friend of yours ever has, it's your fault, right? Because if you just prayed more, you could fill up their bowl of prayers. So I did this 40-day, loosely speaking, fast and prayer time for my friend. And I can tell you, in 10 years since, I've done that for exactly 0 other people. Well, I know a lot of people who need things from God. Why haven't I done a 40-day fast and prayer for any other people in 10 years? It's because I felt like God told me to do that one, and God gave me the ability to do it. So I've done shorter things. I have actually fasted for someone this year and seen great things happen, and it would last about 2 weeks. And it wasn't quite as severe as that one. But I was in on something fun, and I felt like that's because God said, for this one, you should pray for that person. But it was God. If you don't have that chatty relationship with God, suddenly the bowl of prayers thing put the weight of the world on your shoulders. And it's horrible. Don't even go there unless they're together. But if they're together, I think they're pretty powerful. I want to close by looking at what we mean when we say faith. What do we mean by faith? Because we're talking about prayer, and prayer we're actually trying to hear back in an interactive, relational sense of what faith is. So what do we mean when we say faith at all? I think all I mean when I say it is a simple sentence. Faith that God is always good to me. It's a very self-centered way of looking at it, I suppose. Faith that if I say yes to God, I'm not going to regret it. It's a good move. Now, I think there's 2 ways historically that people in all faith traditions throughout the world have looked at God. One I'm going to argue for, and obviously one I'm going to argue against. But here are the 2. They look at God as a boss, or they look at God as a doctor. So the boss, that makes sense, right? God's bigger than us. If we want something from God, in one sense, we sort of owe God. So if God's going to give us something, we want to pay God back. And so in some traditions where if you want to keep a certain God off your back, that you have crops, that you have health, you have prosperity, you sacrifice. You try to do things to make sure that God's not mad at you, and you get the goods. Jesus actually presents a whole different view of looking at it, where he suggests that he might not be regarded, or God might not be regarded as a boss, but as a doctor. So he literally says, I am a good doctor. Anyone who's sick should come to me. If you're not sick, I probably have nothing to offer you. Meaning, if you have no sense of your own personal needs, I guess God can't do much, as if God wants to meet needs. To me, this sort of prayer we're talking about works as the ultimate prescription from this God. And it's helpful for me to think about God as a doctor, because then I can realize maybe I'm not trying to experience God just to know my marching orders and then to try to keep God off my back with whatever minimal sacrifice I have to offer God to still get whatever the good stuff is. Maybe everything I ever do for God is a prescription for my own health. The only reason I'd ever pray, the only reason I'd ever do, in the next session we're going to talk about how the Bible fits in. Why would we ever even look at the Bible? The only rationale to do it is to do it because it's good for us, because we have some conviction that it's a helpful and good and powerful prescription for what ails us, for what we actually need in our lives. How much time, you might ask, should you spend in prayer? If you're going to try it, how long? I have a suggestion. My suggestion is start small, 5 minutes a day. My theory is anybody on earth, however busy you are, has 5 minutes in your day to do anything, to try to pray, say. And my encouragement would be to try the relational style of prayer, to do what Grace did, sitting down with her journal and trying to say, well, if I ask God questions and see if I'm tuning into the frequency maybe to get some answers, what will happen if I just try it? Or you could do what I did and take your walk in a pretty setting like today is so beautiful. You could go outside and say, how's it going, God, and start there. Now, I will say I have found that starting with the small questions works better than the big questions. So not infrequently after I've spoken on things like this, someone will come up to me and say, all I want to know is one thing from God. And I go up to God and I say, should I move to Myanmar? You know, I've got a job opportunity. Should I go there? And God won't answer. And what I'll always say is, well, maybe start with, how's it going, God? The stakes are so high, you know. The only way people get to that point where we move across the country, where we pursue someone that we might marry, the only way we get to that point is by hundreds of hours, usually, of just hanging, right? Because again, if we're talking about a relational experience, most relationships take some time to grow. It's the rare person you'd walk up to and you'd say, hi, it's great to meet you, but should I quit my job tomorrow? What do you think? I mean, seriously, I know, sure, small talk, hi, my name is so-and-so, yeah, but should I quit my job tomorrow? It doesn't usually work that way. Most relationships require relating. And in the course of a flow of the relationship, lots of stuff happens. Lots of growth and encouragement happens. I think the relationship with God is exactly that. And so that sense of needing immediate guidance tends to come from an actual just flow, a relationship along the way. And again, in 2 sessions, we'll talk specifically about guidance, but it's in that spirit. Well, again, in our next session, we're going to look specifically at how the Bible might help. So look forward to seeing you then.